Hello everyone and welcome to another video about writing and publishing books. This is the last week of 2023, so it's going to be slightly different from how we usually do it. I'm still in Greece and Monday is Christmas Day. I'm trying not to work too much these days, but thought I'd take care of the developmental edits my editor has left on my book's outline. Luckily, the temperature and weather was quite okay, so I got myself a coffee and worked from the balcony of my Airbnb. This whole process took me some 3 hours, but by the end of it, I was caught up with all the notes and the ball is on my editor's court again. Since I'm not doing much work, but I'm still talking with authors, I thought I might mention a few words of wisdom I saw today. The following points I'll be mentioning over the week were part of a post that an author named Gabrielle Sands made. I do not know the author, but the points they made seem to resonate with many other writers, and I tend to agree with most, if not all of them. Here's the first 4 points they made in a post where they mentioned 20 things they learned this year. The gold rush is over. Product trumps all. This connects greatly with the next point, which is marketing is a multiplier. If the product is a 0, multiplying it by 100 is still going to produce 0. This is a trap I've fallen into myself with my first books, which were kinda awful. The story was all over the place, the characters lacked agency, and there was so much introspection hidden between the words that their actions barely made any sense. Yet I thought that the books were great, but I lacked the marketing budget. The next point the author made is one that I really want to focus on in 2024. Investing time in improving craft is never a bad idea. It's not that my writing isn't getting better with every new book, but I really want to double down on it this year. And the last point for today is investing time in understanding and refining your creative process is critical for sustainability. I feel that I've nailed this one down already, but not because I know exactly what works for me. I do know that, but I think it's more important that I'm open to changing my process if I think it might make things better. Being open to change is, in my opinion, more crucial for sustainability than optimizing my process and sticking to it. In any case, this was what I did on Monday, my Christmas Day, before I visited my godson and spent time playing hide and seek and football. As you can see from today's video, I didn't do much work at all. It's a holiday after all, so all I did was prepare a couple of emails to leave tomorrow about payments that need to happen by the end of the year. I met with some friends and we watched a beautiful winter sunset over Mount Olympus. So I suppose I'd get back to the next points that I started off yesterday. The fifth of the 20 things that the author Gabrielle Sands claims she learned this year is the following. Emotional regulation is everything. You can make a lot of great decisions only to ruin it all with one bad decision. Don't make any decisions when you're triggered by something. Sleep on it, then decide. This is especially true when it's business decisions or things surrounding the evolving and always live nature of social media. In combination with the next point, this hit very close to home for me. You always have agency and don't let anyone make you think otherwise. You don't have to react to everything that comes your way. You can choose not to take things personally, they rarely are. You can choose to let things slide off your back. You shape your own reality, no one else. In my case, there was an author who went on Twitter ranting about how I stole her series idea. She didn't mention my name, but went on to explain the story behind my Physics of the Apocalypse series. And Twitter being Twitter, a lot of people were calling me a thief, a horrible person, and many more things while they flooded her with support. The allegations of course were untrue, and when she was asked to reveal my name, she said she dared not do it because I'm a very successful author and ruthless, so I would destroy her career. At that time, it was quite difficult to believe that someone was capable of such a blatant lie, but at the same time it was an eye-opener of what can happen. It was only because I was at an author conference with a much more successful author friend that I didn't engage in that garbage fire of social media threads. My cool-headed friend helped me to ignore it, which was ultimately the right decision. Anyway, enough story time, here's the next point. If you're not failing at something at least a few times a year, you're not thinking big enough, not experimenting enough. Over the long term, always playing it safe will leave you in the dust. This is good advice, but only sometimes. There is nothing wrong with being satisfied with what you're doing and where you are professionally. The capitalistic way of thinking that growth is the only way is not something I subscribe to, but if you want to grow, I do agree that failing is a good sign because you're trying things. Lastly, a great network won't make you successful on its own, but there's magic that happens when you have curious and ambitious people around you with whom you can exchange ideas. This is something that I wish I had more to talk about. There are a lot of authors I talk with on the daily, and it's great to see how well everyone's doing, but sadly, there's not too many people to talk about number and business-specific things on publishing and translating. Which is why I try to reach out to anyone I hear who's doing a similar job to this. I feel that these points are very useful to me in general, and taking the day off helped me think about my business and where I want it to go. Tomorrow, I plan on getting some words down though. Today was entirely different to what I expected. Since it's a working day, I was hoping to get to a cafe and write some words. But similarly to the last time I was in my hometown, I got down with a cold and instead didn't write at all. I still had to do some chores with some government documents, visit my Greek accountant, and then meet with a friend to pick something up, but headed straight home afterward. This means that sadly, I don't have anything to report about my story. Instead, let me jump back to the next point in the list. Attention is your most valuable resource. Carefully curate what you allow into your mental space. Ruthlessly cut out what doesn't serve you. This, I feel, is a balance, as we need to decide what is a harmful distraction and what's something that nourishes our soul. A game on the phone or a chat on social media can be both, and we need to decide what's what. Next up, figure out what's in your control, then ignore everything that is not. Time spent worrying about things you can't control is time you could be spending writing the next book or growing your business. This is easier said than done, and we need to keep in mind the human element. Some things are just too big for us to ignore, even if they're out of our control, but I think this gets easier as we grow and realize our insignificance in the universe. The 11th point the author mentioned is complacency kills businesses. Complacency is especially dangerous when things are going well. There is a reason startups constantly disrupt established companies that stop innovating. This is true, but again, is very much in line with the Western way of numbers go up way of thinking. Complacency is what kills successful endeavors or businesses, but so what? If you're successful and you're done with hustling, you don't need to stress over what the next thing is. After you reach a certain point of success and you start investing in other revenue streams, which I think is great for one's peace of mind, reinventing your author business isn't as critical. Of course, if you still get satisfaction from that, this is still great advice. The last one for today is give readers an experience they want to talk to others about. Absolutely great advice, as word of mouth is a primary motivator for a book picking up steam and boosting online algorithms. The way I see it, such moments can create enough word-of-mouth momentum that book series become too big to fail. And I suppose this is the last one for today. I hope I'll be feeling a bit better tomorrow and manage to put some words down. Thursday was another no-work day. I woke up feeling a bit sick and I wasn't going to push myself, so instead, I'm just counting it as a sick day. This means I didn't write any words, so I might as well carry on with 4 more points. What the readers say they want and what they actually want are sometimes two different things. Study behavior, not sentiment. The most prevalent example of this is, of course, cliffhangers. Everyone hates them, but the read-through rate in books that have them is higher than books which don't. And of course, we always need to keep in mind that the people who yell angrily about something they don't like are usually the very vocal minority. We can aim to please people, but since we can't please everyone, we might as well trust the data, especially the behaviors of readers, and not what they say. Next up, a compelling first chapter is not optional. Long past are the days where intricate Cosmos Genesis prologues were a thing. The readers have thousands of books to choose from. In fact, millions of media to spend their time on, like series, movies, and video games. If we don't get their attention immediately, it's all downhill from there. Each person we lose has an additive effect in how Amazon sees our book. If they don't quit, they push it to more people. If they read through it hungrily, Amazon will push it to even more people. It really is all connected. Number 15 is, if you understand the fundamentals of this business, you inoculate yourself from being distracted by random tactics or spreading yourself too thin. This is another good point, especially in the time of online experts and gurus. There are people who take great pleasure from explaining why their strategy is the best and you should do exactly what they say. The worst part is that you can tell people who might be snake oil salesmen if they're asking for money, but they might also be doing it because they think they're right and just seek validation. I've seen this happen with an author who had written only one little RPG book, pushing his ideas of how other people should run their author business. Well, that person is not in the industry anymore, but they almost drove another author who is quite successful now out of it. Or perhaps this is my rebel side, disliking people telling others what they must do. Anyway, the last point for today is minding your own business is an underrated productivity hack. This is very much true, but also a balancing act. There is a case to be made about keeping up with what's happening in your industry and genre, or even getting some entertainment value from drama in your industry or author circles. But we also need to be aware that these things do not increase our numbers, and in fact they might very well have been idle scrolling on TikTok. So again, it's a balance that we need to make sure is kept for our health and the health of our business. And this was Thursday for me. At this point, I do not think I'll be writing tomorrow, but I might as well do some planning. I guess we'll see what happens. So like I imagined, I did not get to write today either. Honestly, I could have sat down and written a few words, but I chose to take it easy instead. This doesn't mean I didn't work at all though. Amazon sent me the last payment for 2023 and I took care of every invoice that was sent to me. Additionally, I contacted everyone who still hasn't invoiced me to do so, as it's always nice to know I've paid everyone and there's nothing pending. That said, let's move to the last 4 of the 20 points. The short game is a very different game from the long game. Know which one you're playing and make decisions accordingly. This is not something that really applies to me, and I can't really say I'm seeing how writing can be a short game. Writing a book series, for example a trilogy, one would need something like 6 months, 4 months if they're fast writer, or even 3 if they write in a genre with shorter books. And that's only if they have nailed down their process. So I don't know how this can be called a short game unless they're referring to writing to market. Anyway, on to the next. Sometimes there is no shortcut and you just have to suck it up and do the hard thing. While I don't agree with the way it's phrased, yeah, most times there really is no shortcut. But on the other hand, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it and it wouldn't be valued. Number 19 is, there is only one competition that matters, you versus yourself. This is so true. Watching sales numbers, rankings on the Amazon store, comparing your review numbers and average score with other similar releases is just a race to insanity. There are millions of readers, and I think we'd go a lot further if we compete with ourselves, meaning becoming better in what we do, than wasting our time comparing ourselves with other authors. It's just not worth the time. And finally, when in doubt, write the next book. Make it better than the last. This I can get 100% behind. In fact, I'd even remove the first 3 words. Just write the next book and strive to make it better than the last. Doing our best is the best way to achieve greatness. And if I might add something of my own to this list, success comes from strain, not stress. These 2 things are different and we should welcome the first and avoid the latter. And on a more personal note, as this is the last video for 2023, here are my numbers in review. I've written a total of 245,000 words, which isn't much really, but at the same time, I feel like I'm back on the horse for good this time. As a publisher, we put out 88 releases. There's a few English books in there, but most of them are ebook or audiobook releases in German. So we definitely hit our goal for one release per week, and I couldn't be happier with our growth. With that said, thank you for watching the last episode of Life as an Author and Publisher, even though it's already mid-February by the time this comes out. I'd appreciate you subscribing and hope to see you again next week. Okay, bye!